Look at this. To the modern eye, it's the American dream, a symbol of status, a manicured green carpet. But to a biologist, this is a crime scene. The average American yard is a biological desert. It is a high-maintenance parasite that consumes $40 billion in chemicals and nearly 9 billion gallons of water every single day. And in return for this massive investment of your time and money, it produces exactly 0 calories.
We have been conditioned to see this as nature, but it is actually a battlefield. We use chemical weapons like 2,4-D, a compound born for biological warfare, to ensure that nothing useful, nothing nutritious, and nothing free ever breaks the surface. You are paying a monthly subscription to a lawn care industry that depends on your garden staying dead. Now, step back 2,000 years. This is a Roman Hortus. In a space no larger than a modern 2-car garage, roughly 20 by 20 feet, a first-century family did the mathematically impossible. They didn't just grow some food. They operated a survival engine that provided 80% of their daily nutrition. This wasn't a hobby for the wealthy. It was a high-tech biological system designed for the urban citizen. Using thermal mass, vertical trellising, and porous clay irrigation, they turned a tiny patch of dirt into a high-output calorie factory. While we spend our weekends mowing, they spent theirs harvesting. Why did this knowledge vanish? Because the multi-trillion-dollar industrial food system cannot afford for you to be independent. They need you to believe the lie that self-sufficiency requires 100 acres and a tractor. They need you to see your backyard as a lawn, a liability, rather than a Hortus, an asset. When you look at your yard, they want you to see a chore. They don't want you to see the gold mine you are currently standing on. The Roman kitchen garden wasn't lost. It was replaced by a system that profits from your hunger. But the engineering remains. The blueprints are still etched into the stone of history, and the plants are still waiting in the cracks of your driveway. This is the story of the suppressed engineering miracle that can defund the grocery store and put the power of the empire back into your hands. Welcome to the garden. To understand the Roman garden, you have to stop thinking like a gardener and start thinking like an engineer. The Romans didn't just plant seeds, they built a microclimate. Modern American suburbs are designed with wide-open spaces that act as heat sinks, baking our plants in the afternoon sun. The Romans did the opposite. They used thermal mass. The thick stone walls of the peristyle, the colonnade surrounding the garden, served a dual purpose. During the day, these walls absorbed the brutal Mediterranean heat, acting like a giant battery. This kept the courtyard up to 10 degrees cooler than the street outside. At night, that stored heat was slowly released, protecting delicate crops from the sudden chill. They created a stable zone where plants could grow faster and longer than anywhere else in the city. They weren't fighting nature, they were trapping its energy. In 2026, the American West is facing a mega drought. We pay utility companies for water that we spray into the air where 50% evaporates before it even touches the soil. The Romans would have found this insanity. They used the water matrix. Every Roman Hortus featured an impluvium, a sophisticated cistern system that caught every drop of rainwater from the inward-sloping roofs. But the real genius was how they delivered it. They used the olla. These are unglazed, porous clay jars buried neck-deep in the soil. You fill the jar with water, and through a process called soil moisture tension, the water only seeps out when the surrounding roots actually need it. It was a 0% waste system, no evaporation, no runoff, no monthly bill. Just a gravity-fed ancient technology that makes modern drip irrigation look like a toy. If you want to understand why the industrial fertilizer market is worth $200 billion, look no further than your trash can. The Romans practiced soil alchemy.
They didn't buy fertility, they manufactured it. They used stercus, a precise blend of kitchen scraps, animal manure, and human waste that was aged until it became black gold. But they had a secret ingredient: wood ash.
By recycling the ash from their heating and cooking fires, they were returning pure potassium and calcium to the earth. They were building a closed-loop system where waste didn't exist. They created some of the most nutrient-dense soil ever measured in history. Soil so rich it could support high-density planting that would starve a modern garden in weeks. They didn't need a lab. They had a cycle.
The modern grocery store is built on annuals, plants that live for a few months, die, and force you to buy new seeds or starts every single spring. It's a brilliant business model, but a terrible survival strategy. The Romans focused on generational crops. These were the perennial powerhouses. Take their version of kale, the Brassica oleracea. This wasn't the wimpy bagged salad you find in 2026. It was a semi-perennial shrub that could live for years, providing fresh grains even in the dead of winter. Then there were the leeks and grapes. These weren't just food, they were permanent infrastructure. A Roman grapevine wasn't just a plant, it was an inheritance. By focusing on perennials, the Roman family eliminated the most expensive part of gardening, the labor of replanting. You plant once, you, your children, and your grandchildren eat. It's the ultimate passive income for your stomach. In the first century, there was no pharmacy down the street. There was only the corner of your garden. The Romans didn't separate food from medicine. They understood a truth that the $1.5 trillion pharmaceutical industry has spent a century trying to bury. Nutrition is the first line of defense. They grew garlic not just for flavor, but as a powerful antiseptic and cardiovascular shield. They grew rue for vision and lovage for digestion. These plants were the biological security of the household. Every meal was a dose of medicine. By maintaining this pharmacy in the corner, the Roman citizen remained independent of the centralized systems of control. They knew that when you lose the knowledge of your herbs, you lose the power to heal yourself. The biggest lie we are told today is that you need space to grow food. We think horizontally, but the Romans thought vertically. They pioneered a vertical revolution. Using pergolas, wooden trellises, they trained grapes, cucumbers, and legumes to grow up instead of out. By utilizing the walls of their courtyard, they turned 400 square feet of floor space into 1,200 square feet of productive growing surface. If the Roman garden was so efficient, why aren't we all living in one today? The answer isn't that the technology failed. The answer is that you became more profitable when you stopped producing. Following the Industrial Revolution, the definition of productivity was hijacked. The power elite realized that a man with a Roman Hortus is a man who doesn't need a factory job to survive. To transform a population of independent producers into a workforce of dependent consumers, they had to break your relationship with the soil. Gardens were rebranded. They were stripped of their calories and replaced with ornamental displays, manicured shrubs and exotic flowers that signaled wealth but provided no sustenance. Survival was traded for status. We were taught that growing food was lower class, a relic of the past. The grocery store became the new temple, and the garden became a decorative graveyard for your time. By 2026, this erasure has been codified into law. Today, over 40 million Americans live under the jurisdiction of homeowners associations, private mini-governments that have essentially made the Roman Hortus illegal. In many U.S. suburbs, you can be fined, sued, or even lose your home for planting a leek where a patch of Bermuda grass is supposed to be. Why? Because a lawn is a signal of compliance. It tells the system you are willing to spend your money on chemicals and your time on useless labor. The empire didn't fall, it just moved indoors. But you can take it back. You don't need an acre, you don't even need a lawn. You just need a patio and the Roman blueprint. Step 1.
Install the Ollas. We start by breaking the dependency on the hose. By burying unglazed clay pots in large planters, we create a self-regulating irrigation system. You fill them once a week, the plants do the rest. Step 2. Build the vertical trellises. We stop thinking like tenants and start thinking like emperors. By installing cedar pergolas and wall-mounted wire grids, we reclaim the vertical space. In 14 days, the beans and grapes begin their ascent, creating a natural privacy screen that doubles as a calorie factory. Step 3. Focus on ancient staples. We bypass the weak annuals of the garden center. We plant perennial tree kale, Egyptian walking onions, and Mediterranean herbs. These are the ancient staples, plants that survived the fall of Rome and are hardy enough to survive a modern heat wave. Within 30 days, this concrete slab is no longer a patio, it is a Hortus. Let's look at the numbers the industry doesn't want you to calculate. By reclaiming just 400 square feet, the size of a standard patio, the average American family can save upwards of $4,000 a year in grocery costs. But the value isn't just in the dollars, it's in the defunding of your own dependency. Every leek you harvest is a blow to the industrial monocultures that degrade our planet. Every Roman grape you pick is a rejection of the $115 billion lawn care industry. You aren't just gardening, you are opting out of a system designed to keep you fragile. In this 20 by 20 space, you are no longer a consumer, you are a producer. The Romans didn't just leave behind ruins and broken marble. They left behind a blueprint for survival. The vault is open. The technology is in your hands. It is time to stop wasting your life mowing a lawn that offers you nothing and start building a courtyard that offers you everything. Stop mowing. Start feeding. I've compiled the specific Roman plant list and the Olla setup guide into a blueprint below. Stop buying seeds that die in a year. Start planting a legacy. Download the list in the description and let's get to work. The next secret isn't in a textbook, it's buried in your soil. Subscribe to Friendly Garden and hit the bell to ensure you're there when the next step into the garden. Your independence starts now.